Well, good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful, frosty morning here at the end of March, and I wanted to take just a little bit of time this morning and talk to you about something that I think is often misunderstood by gardeners, especially new gardeners, and that is Coco Coir. What is it? Where does it come from? And how do I use it in my garden? That's coming up next. All right, so what is Coco Coir? Well, Coco Coir is a garden supplement, amendment, whatever word you want to use, that is often sold as a replacement or an alternative for peat moss. It's a natural byproduct from harvesting coconuts, as you can see in this footage here. The outside of a coconut is actually covered by this really thick fibrous husk, and they have to peel that off to get to the coconut on the inside. Well, they take that husk and grind it up and turn it into a product that we know as Coco Coir. So now that we know a little bit about what Coco Coir is and where it comes from, let's talk about how you can use it in your garden. Now, the thing that you have to understand about Coco Coir, first of all, is that it is sold as a very, very dry, compressed brick. So you're going to see in a lot of this footage that most of the ways that you get Coco Coir will be some size variation of what you see before you right here. It's a dry, crusty, fibrous mess, and to try to break that up with your hands would be just honestly painful. But the second you hit it with water, it starts to absorb the water like a sponge and turns into this fine, crumbly, really easy to work with mixture that honestly holds water like nobody's business. If you've ever tried to wet down peat moss and then you get some Coco Coir and wet down Coco Coir, you'll understand that the biggest difference between the two of them is that Coco Coir just soaks up water like crazy. Peat moss has a tendency to float on the surface of water when it's really dry, and it takes it quite a while to absorb the water and get hydrated. Coco Coir, on the other hand, you can see it just peeling off of this brick as I spray it with water. Like, it just takes water like crazy. But what's really interesting about it is while it takes water like crazy, it freely drains. Like, it will take what it can take and then it will stop. So as a soil amendment or a soil ingredient or a mixture in potting soils or seed starting mixes or anything like that, it's going to have this really great potential to absorb and hold lots of water without becoming too waterlogged and oversaturated, because it releases water almost as easily as it absorbs it. It's kind of crazy actually, because like you're going to see here in a split second, I think in this footage, the water is going to start draining out of this pile. Yep, there it goes. So see how it just like it soaked up all the water that it could, but whatever it didn't need just kind of flows right through it, which is, there's just so many things about this that's honestly really cool. I just am super excited about Coco Coir at the moment. Hey, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this content, consider giving it a little thumbs up really quick. Maybe even subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It sure helps this message get seen by others who might find it useful, and we'd love having you here along for the rest of the journey. Thanks again. So important to understand that obviously the main objective when you are first working with a brick of Coco Coir is to get it hydrated. I keep pushing this brick down to the lower kind of, drainage point of the wheelbarrow, the lowest point in the barrel where the water pools, and that allows that Coco Coir to just soak up the water from both the top of me spraying it and the bottom as well. And eventually we're going to end up with this really hydrated mass of soil amendment. So once you have it completely and fully hydrated, and all of these big chunks like this have been worked out of the mixture because you just keep wetting it down and kind of stirring it around, finding the pieces that might need a little bit of extra attention. Once it's all hydrated, how do you use this stuff? Like, what's its role in the garden? It's important to understand, of course, that Coco Coir is inert, like peat moss. There's not really any native fertility in it, so it's not going to have much of a benefit to the fertility of your soils, at least. I view that as an opportunity. Here we use water to hydrate it, but if I had used something like compost tea to hydrate this, or some sort of a liquid-based natural fertilizer, then we would have been inoculating all of this coco coir with some extra fertility to help with plant growth. So that's one potential way to expand the usefulness of this. But we use this mainly in two main ways in our garden. Number one, we use it as an ingredient for our seed starting mixes. So my favorite seed starting mix is a mixture of coco coir, peat moss, and vermiculite. That's what I like to mix together. So I have always coco coir on hand for that purpose. The other way that we like to use it is actually, I have another video on how we built some super soil, actually using this coco coir from this footage here. And we use super soil as a top dressing for the raised bed gardens that we have installed here at our location. So, we'll mix this coco coir with some peat moss and some compost and some other soil amendments and some fertilizers and things. And then we'll use that as a super epic, top 3 to 5 inches of soil for our plants to start life out in before their roots start reaching down deeper into the sublayers of soil that we have in our raised beds. Two of my other favorite ways to use coco coir is as a main ingredient in our potting soil mixes. So here I'm potting up some seedlings in what would be considered a potting soil mix. If I were going to be using this outside, I would probably add in maybe some more bulky ingredients like some perlite or something like that. But this is basically seed starting mix, which we've already said has the coco coir in it. And then we've added compost to it to basically turn it into potting soil type stuff. So use your coco coir as part of your homemade potting soil recipes. And then the last place that I really love using coco coir actually is in our worm bin mixes. So I'll have a video coming out here soon. Once I get it published, I'll post a link to it here in this part of this video. But basically, we mix a pile of ingredients together, some rough compost, some shredded paper, and other things to create the worm bedding. And one of the main ingredients in that worm bedding is peat moss and coco coir. So we use it as part of our worm bedding as well. Well, there you go. I hope that this answers some of the questions you might have about coco coir. It is a really phenomenal resource for the gardeners. It's just a great water holding thing. Using it in all of these ways has really helped me expand what our garden is capable of doing. So get yourself some coco coir and then get outside, because life's better when it's lived outdoors. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.